Every single screw up on this podcast, by the way, has been my fault. So, let's start again.
I see if I can change that for you today.
Please do. I'll feel so much better about myself. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Small Talk Window, where the host and guest have a small window of time to dispense with a small talk as quickly as possible and settle into a meaningful conversation around the world of work. And my guest for this episode is Mark Chaffey, who's founder and CEO of hackajob. Welcome, Mark.
Brent, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to get rid of the small talk as quickly as possible and chat about something meaningful and fun related to the world of work. It should be a good one, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, that's awesome! Yeah, this is actually a really good one we have planned. And before we get to it, maybe you could share with our audience just a little bit about who you are, what hackajob is, and what motivates you in the world of work, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name is Mark. I'm the co-founder and CEO at hackajob. We co-founded hackajob 10 years ago now, whilst we and my co-founder were both at university in London. It's been an incredible journey. I'm now based out of New York and get to spend a lot of time traveling around. hackajob, we've just released our most recent platform, hackajob Intelligence, which is an AI sourcing platform on top of our community of over 500,000 technology professionals. We really partner with large enterprise organizations on helping them directly source technical talent for hard-to-fill roles across the US, India, UK, and for both permanent and contracts. And I think, I actually wrote a LinkedIn post about this today. A lot of people ask me, how are things going? What's it like? How's the job? And I use the word fun a lot. I think it's really fun what I get to do. We're at an interesting scale now where when we build something and release it, we can onboard customers quickly. You get a lot of feedback. We've got an amazing team. So I really try and have fun with it. We're only on this planet for 80 years if we're lucky. There's no point doing stuff that you're not going to have a bit of fun with. So I, where possible, try and have a bit of fun with work.
Oh, I hear you. That's what I try to do too. It sounds really fascinating. We'll have to do another episode at some point around that, what you guys do maybe. But today, so I'm going to kind of throw kind of a weird question out there to you. Does couples counseling ever really work, Mark?
I haven't been married, so I can't speak from first-hand experience, but I wouldn't be convinced it works. I'm sure there's some great success stories out there, but I think that there might need to be an analogy between couples counselling and what is happening in the world of work at the moment, quite possibly.
There's probably a lot of those analogies, yeah. Couples counseling always seems to work. It seems to work half the time in movies, and half the time it doesn't work in movies. I'm not so sure it does, but I really hope it does when it comes to AI and humans. How's that for a segue? We might kind of need it soon, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that might be segue of the year. But I think that there is no doubt that AI is fundamentally impacting humans more than ever. And there's a lot of horror stories out there that AI is going to make us all redundant and we're going to live in this world that is controlled by robots. And I think there's a whole nother audience out there that probably say AI is a big fad and it doesn't mean anything. So I think the marriage counseling, relationship counseling example could be used quite nicely for AI and humans in the world of work right now.
Yeah, I agree. We've talking so much about AI in the space, and those are two more camps. We need to talk more about AI and other people. Let's talk about something than AI. Come on. It does seem like a lot of the chatter out there right now is around, AI. It's going to take our jobs. You better pay attention to AI. You better get good at AI, or you're in big trouble. That particular one is probably really true. But what was sort of the inspiration for this topic that we're going to talk a little bit more about today, Mark, was a post from a guy in LinkedIn, and just a quick shout out to Kieran Flanagan, who's Chief Marketing Officer of HubSpot, and also a Sequoia Scout, I guess, where he he has some venture capital connection as well. He has all these sort of thought leadership-y kind of things on LinkedIn, and he proposed what I think is sort of an elegant relationship between AI and humans, wherein the former is a tool to enhance the latter. I like that. And just to kind of set the stage here, I'm going to read what he wrote. And this was in the context of marketers, but there's obviously a real tie-in with the world of work as well. So he said the framework marketers will use to win with AI is use AI to generate, humans to curate, AI to analyze data, human to find insights, AI to suggest, humans to refine, AI to test, and humans to learn.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of Kieran. I think he's got some awesome ideas. And to me, he's hit the nail on the head. I was having lunch this week with another great guy in our industry, Jonathan Ketzenbaum from AMS, and he had a lovely phrase, which was tech plus touch. And we've been talking a lot of human plus machine, but I told Jonathan I'm going to steal that tech plus touch. And I think taking that marketeer example that Kieran talked about and applying it to our world, I think recruiters have to see AI as a tool they need to leverage. If they do not leverage, they are absolutely going to get left behind. Mm-hmm. But I believe the touch element that Jonathan said is really nice. Like getting a job is still a very innately human experience, right? Mm-hmm. I think sometimes as professionals, when we think about the world of work, we think about hiring, we can often forget just how stressful, just how daunting it is to change roles, change careers. And that touch element, that human element is going to be really, really important. So I love this framing of like human plus machine, leveraging AI as a tool. And I think Kieran really hit the nail on the head with a lot of what he shared.
You know what you're saying right now, and by the way, tech plus touch, I love that. Every once in a while something comes up and you're like, man, I wish I thought of that. That's a really good one.
Totally.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
One thing you said here that really made me think is there a natural resting point for humans and AI? Let's not try to boil the ocean like civilization and AI. We'll leave that to the Elon Musks and the Kurzweils of the world or whatever, right? But when it comes to talent acquisition, right? Is there a natural resting point where there's a human piece of it and there's a sort of an expanded AI fueled automation piece of it? Is there a natural place, and do we even have to pay attention to that to make sure we land in that resting spot?
What comes to mind when I hear the phrase resting spot in AI is the world of AI is evolving so quickly. AI as a concept goes back to the 1940s, 1950s, the Turing test, etc. And really what's happened in the last 18 months is we've effectively passed the Turing test, right? Mm-hmm. Machines can now kind of pretend to be a human and kind of fool a human in many respects, not in all respects. And ChatGPT is what's popularized it. The technology behind it is large language models. But that was 18 months ago. It's crazy how quickly things have moved. So I think the thing about a resting point is that this technology is evolving and changing so quickly. I don't think resting point might be the right mental model. I think it's like you have to iterate, you have to experiment, you have to test. But I think you need some fundamental principles that you follow in that journey to get the right balance between human and machines. And, we're talking about a big topic here, right? Getting hired, getting employment is a big deal. It's a big part of our civilization. And if we leverage AI in the wrong ways, does it exaggerate bias? Does it create worse outcomes? So I think there's a lot of risk in how we apply it. But I think that it's only going to be learned through experimentation as the technology continues to evolve.
I think you're right. I agree with you. There's, one thing that occurred to me recently in conversation I was having with someone whose name escapes me at the moment, but it was around AI and how and bias, inherent bias or built-in bias. It's inadvertent, but it's built into the algorithm, right? And it's kind of interesting that okay, that's bad. We want to make sure that doesn't happen, but at the same time, it's forcing us as humans, or forcing us might not be the right word. It's occurring to us as humans to think about that anew and maybe self-reflect in ways we didn't previously, which is interesting. So it's almost like AI is sort of enhancing our sort of our aspirational humanness.
It's such an amazing point. I'd never considered this analogy before, but it's a little bit like self-driving cars. Hear me out on this one. Self-driving cars are statistically safer than human-driven cars today, right?
Yeah.
But there's like such an emotional involvement in human-driven cars that we're like, okay, it's going to take a long time before self-driving cars become the norm. And what's fascinating when we say AI has bias, often why AI has bias is because it's trained on a biased data set. Who generated the biased data set? Humans, because humans are inherently biased. Right?
Exactly.
And I hadn't really joined those thoughts before, but you are so spot on. It's like, oh, the AI is really biased, and us as humans, we're never biased. So we can't use AI because, we're going to introduce bias into the process. And it's like, well, wait a minute, we're introducing bias into the process because we're innately biased ourselves. Now, I'm not saying that's a good thing, but I do think it's a great point that you raised that I really hadn't considered, which is, we do look at AI and we're like, oh, we're so much better as humans, right? We're perfect. Yeah. And it's like, well, maybe that's not so strictly true. It's such a fascinating point. I love that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad. But the self-driving car thing, it really hit home, because I'll die on that hill. I'm going to drive my own cars. Thank you very much.
I love it. It's a classic emotion versus rational debate, right? There's some stuff that's very emotional, and there's some stuff that when a human makes a mistake, we can accept it. In the example of driving, right? A human makes a mistake and, causes an accident, and whatever happens, we kind of accept it. If a machine was to do it, for some reason, we struggle to accept it to the same level. And I don't know what that says about us. I mean, now we are getting very deep, but... Yeah. It is an interesting kind of standard that we hold machines almost to a higher standard than we hold ourselves.
You know what? It's interesting. I'm looking at the time, and we try to make this a true small talk window. So we're coming right up on time. But if I were to put a fine point on, and I'll ask you for some closing thoughts too. But if I were to put a fine point on this, it seems like maybe we have hit upon some couples counseling themes here for AI and humans. Self-reflection, putting the other first, and really getting deep and really thinking about how you are relating to the other person. We say relationship so much, and it's become just like it's just a word, but it really means relationship.
Totally. I think my takeaway from this will be, my insight from this is that potentially humans think of ourselves as a little bit too godlike in our ability to do certain things, that we are probably just as bad as the machine at, yet we hold the machine to a higher standard. And maybe that's an interesting point to reflect on.
That's a great point. Let's leave it at that. Thank you so much, Mark, for joining us for this episode. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brent. Really appreciate it, man.